Hey there, everybody, it's your old pal Michael. Welcome to a special edition of Sports Talk, Super Bowl week style. Talking about today the 5 best Super Bowls of all time. This is only my opinion, what I believe are the 5 best Super Bowls of all time. Most of these, I must say, occurred actually recently. I think actually from the 90s to the 2000s, basically, and beyond. Like 2010s as well. So, yeah, it's going to be a little biased because of that. It's basically games I have seen or games that I just knew from the highlights that were pretty famous. So, unfortunately, I didn't pick any like the older games back in the day since I didn't really know those ones that well. That's why, like I said, this is like my own opinion. What are the 5 best Super Bowls of all time? I got them written down here on a piece of paper so I can describe to you what they are. So, the 5th best Super Bowl of all time, in my opinion, Super Bowl 34. St. Louis Rams versus the Tennessee Titans. Rams won this game 23-16. We all remember this was the year of the Music City Miracle where Frank Wycheck threw the ball to Dyson. Kevin Dyson, it's been such a long time since I've seen this highlight, and the Titans are one of my favorite teams, if you follow me on my sports talk, where they hit Dyson, he ran down the sideline. This was just after the Bills had kicked a field goal to take the lead. Titans were able to win the game. It was a lateral across the field. It was reviewed for a long time before they did call this a lateral. Titans won that game. They ended up defeating Jacksonville in the AFC Championship game. I think Jacksonville that year was 14-2, and their only 2 losses were to the Titans, and the Titans ended up besting them for a 3rd time to get to the Super Bowl to take on the Rams, which was, the Rams team of Kurt Warner, Isaac Bruce, Azahir Hakim, Marshall Faulk, like the greatest show on turf. That's what this team was. And you got a great game between the Rams and the Titans. Rams ended up scoring late in the game, and then the Titans had a chance to tie the game up as McNair hit his receiver across the middle of the field, but the Rams player was able to tackle the Titans receiver, and the names are just escaping me for the time. But the receiver was dragged down 1 yard short of the end zone. He stretched the ball out to try to get it across, but no go, and the clock ran out as there was like 2 seconds left when he was down, and the Titans were out of timeouts. Back in the day, too, I did like the Rams as well with Kurt Warner, so it was great to, kind of watch 2 of my, two teams I really enjoyed watching in the Super Bowl. It was a great game to see. Super Bowl 32 between the Denver Broncos and Green Bay Packers happens to be my 4th best Super Bowl. As Denver bested Green Bay in the game 31-24 as Brett Favre was attempting to win back-to-back Super Bowls. The Packers won the year before against the New England Patriots. And Denver had yet to win a Super Bowl at this point. John Elway had yet to win a Super Bowl. And everyone was kind of wondering, is John Elway ever going to win a Super Bowl coming into this game? Green Bay was a pretty big favorite, actually, over Denver. In fact, the AFC was being dominated in Super Bowls up to this point. In the recent years leading up to Super Bowl 32, the NFC was winning most of them, in fact. So, everyone was thinking Green Bay is just going to win again. You have Brett Favre, you have Antonio Freeman, so everyone was thinking Packers are going to win easily. But, Denver fought really, really hard. Of course, Denver was one of my favorite teams. And this is when I really fell in love with the Broncos because, of John Elway, of Terrell Davis, of Ed McCaffrey, Neil Smith, Rod Smith, all those great players for Denver. And, they were able to go on and win the next year, too. But, Terrell Davis really gutted it out in this game. He had a migraine, but ended up having a huge game and was used as a decoy as well in this game, too, to actually fool the Packers. And we all, remember John Elway's iconic helicopter dive trying to get a first down. And that just showed right there that this guy wanted to win a Super Bowl. And, of course, he ended up winning back-to-back and then retiring. So, I mean, he really went out on top, winning 2 Super Bowls in a row. But, you know, it's a great game that the Denver Broncos were able to win, and they won their first ever Super Bowl title that year. The third best Super Bowl, in my opinion, Super Bowl 25, Giants 20, Bills 19. Everyone thought coming in this game Buffalo was going to win. Thurman Thomas, Jim Kelly were going to be able to lead Buffalo to a Super Bowl victory. Of course, the Giants were playing with Jeff Hostetler, quarterback, because Phil Simms was injured. And we all remember that Bill Parcells was the coach of the Giants in this game. But the Giants really controlled the game. Jeff Hostetler played well. Even though Thurman Thomas had a great game rushing, it just wasn't enough for the Bills. And in fact, the Bills ended up going to 4 straight Super Bowls, didn't win a single one, and this was their best chance. And they ended up falling short in this game. Reason why? We all remember Scott Norwood could not connect on a field goal, pushed it wide right, and the Bills ended up losing because of that. So, and they lost 20-19. So it was a heartbreaker for the Bills. They made it to 3 more Super Bowls, couldn't win any of those either, and they haven't been back since. The second best Super Bowl, in my opinion, was Super Bowl 43 between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Arizona Cardinals. Steelers won the game 27-23. Once again, a team led by Kurt Warner, who kind of fell off the map in St. Louis after leading them to a couple of Super Bowls. He was ended up being benched actually, and then he went out to Arizona and then kind of resurrected his career, leading the Cardinals to the Super Bowl here. And this was a fantastic game to see. Between Ben Roethlisberger, between Kurt Warner, you had Larry Fitzgerald, Santonio Holmes for the Steelers. Well, I'm having a little trouble here thinking a little bit. But anyways, the highlight of the game had to be James Harrison's 100-yard interception return for a touchdown right at the end of the second quarter. Looked like Cardinals were going to score. Harrison picks it off, runs down the sideline, dodges defenders, gets key blocks, finds his way into the end zone, and probably he was taking oxygen the entire halftime. I mean, that was a huge touchdown for the Steelers. The Cardinals were able to, come back, take the lead, but late in the game, Ben Roethlisberger had Santonio Holmes in the right corner of the end zone with defenders around him, dragged his feet, got them in, and the Steelers wound up winning the game. It was an incredible catch, too, with the defenders around him, and that led the Steelers to the victory. And in my opinion, the best Super Bowl of all time, it might be the biggest upset in Super Bowl history of all time. Super Bowl 42, the New York Giants defeated the New England Patriots, who were undefeated going into that game, 17-14. Probably the reason why, in all honesty, the Giants ended up winning that game was because they actually squared off late in the regular season. It was either week 16 or 17. These two teams ended up squaring off. And so it was in the Giants' memory, if they got to the Super Bowl, that they probably would know what to do against the Patriots. And the Giants were never great in the regular season, but when it came to the playoffs, it seemed to be Eli Manning would dial it in, and he did a couple of years later too, defeating the Patriots. But this game was a defensive struggle to the end. And, it looked like, of course, the biggest highlight of the game, the Patriots looked like they're about to sack Eli Manning. Manning breaks free, throws it down the field, and somehow David Tyree catches the ball on his helmet. He's holding the ball up against his helmet, comes down with it. You would think with the helmet maybe being a little slick, it would have slid right off, but my goodness, he just hung onto it, right onto his helmet, caught the ball, and you knew at that point that the fate was in the Giants' hands, that they were going to walk away with a Super Bowl victory. I mean, if you get a play like that. Of course, we probably thought that last year with the Seahawks when Jermaine Kearse caught the ball on his back, and we're thinking, oh my gosh, Patriots are going to lose another heartbreaker because of another, fantastic catch that happens at the end of the game until Malcolm Butler saved the day. And, really, the Seahawks shot themselves in the foot, too. But we're not talking about the game right now. And then Eli Manning was able to hit Mario Manning in for a touchdown, put the Giants up late, 17-14. And that's what the final score ended up being. And the Patriots did not have the first undefeated season since the Miami Dolphins were able to do it. So the Dolphins still can celebrate every year that they're the only undefeated team in NFL history. They're not the only undefeated team in regular season history, as the Patriots were able to do that. But the Dolphins went through the entire season without losing a game, unlike the Patriots that year. So, in my opinion, the greatest game in Super Bowl history and probably the greatest upset in Super Bowl history, too. Although, you could also argue the Jets beating the Colts in Super Bowl III as probably one of the greatest upsets as well. But that's a discussion for another day. So tomorrow we're going to talk about, in my opinion, what are the top 5 worst Super Bowl games. Because there have been some that have been complete and utter blowouts that people probably have turned off at halftime. Unless you wanted to see the commercials, of course, then you just watched it to the end. So that'll do it for today. Thank you for watching and thank you for subscribing. And if you haven't subscribed, subscribe to my channel for more content. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram. Links are in the description below. This is Mike Loudon, over and out.